And socially, in the 1960s, Chicago was a mob city. And by that I mean it was run by a political boss, Richard Daley. He was the mayor for so long that there were children who thought his first name was Mayor. Mayor Daley, because that's all they heard. He had been a mayor from 1955 to 1976. That's before there were term limits. So he just went on and on and on. And of course, in that time, he was able to create a kind of system that allowed him to run the city. He was the capital, but he had his own aldermen in place. He knew who appointed the firemen, the policemen, anyone who was involved in municipal services. So it was his town. And his, I don't want to say henchmen, but his aldermen, they were all men, were not all white. There was a white ethnic mix. And of the blacks, they, of course, had to serve his purposes. They could not be independent. You show a streak of independence, as would be true of any of the white ones, and you were out. So it was a system run by patronage. You give me, I give you something back. I don't think Dr. King knew what he was getting into, because he had never been in a northern city trying to organize and trying to change the system. Chicago maintained segregation. Remember, we're talking about 1960. Blacks were restricted to two parts of town, South Side, West Side. Blacks, in terms of jobs, were restricted to the lowest level and the lowest paying jobs. If you were lucky, you were a professional, doctor, dentist, or you were able to get into the post office, which was a clean, safe job. Other jobs open to blacks would be the steel mill, but you were not a supervisor. You were the one working in front of the blast furnaces, liable to get hurt, burned, so the mayor was serving his people. And there was segregation in not only neighborhoods, the churches, recreational facilities. It was a totally segregated system. So one did not have to go south to experience that. The irony of some of the segregation, just one example. I lived on the south side, which meant that 99% of the people living there were black. There would be occasionally an interracial couple, so that would introduce a white person in an otherwise all black neighborhood, and also introduce either a white kid into the school or a mixed race kid into the school. But otherwise, it was a black picture. And in the midst of our neighborhood was a roller skating rink called White City. And we could only go